chanting tonight. And every Wednesday night, catch us live. DJ Stano, Junior Ready, Big and Ready, live on KBC Channel 1 and KBC Radio Taifa. Ndani ya kipindi inaitwaje?
Every 4 minutes is a chance for you to win big with Mega Dollar. Just go to Lipa na M-Pesa, enter paybill number 295888, account name KBC, and amount from 10 shillings or more. Then select your 10 numbers from 1 to 80 and send to 29588. You can win up to 30 million shillings. Start playing now and win. Mega Dollar. Big winners every 4 minutes.
Good evening and welcome. This is Channel 1 News Hour.
My name is Edward Kabasa. Thank you very much for joining us today. It has been a very busy day. Matiba preparations are underway. Of course, Kenya has really lost someone who has done so much in terms of human rights and making sure that Kenyans enjoy the multi-party.
Well, of course, and while talking about people who are contributing positively to the growth of the country tonight, being Wednesday, that means we have our weekly segment. This is Engine Behind the Power. She's a lady who wears very many hats, but to so many, she is a source of inspiration and a source of strength. She started her journey from the lecture halls, and now she walks the halls of the National Assembly, contributing to the growth of this nation. This is Dr. Gertrude Inima. So do stand by for that. A lot has been lined up for you, but first, we take a look at the day's highlights. IBC meeting with House Committee put off amid calls to overhaul the electoral body. President Kenyatta calls on African nations to collaborate in infrastructure development. And renewed hope as new anti-malaria vaccine goes on trial. Welcome back. I am Rose Gaku.
And our sign language interpreter tonight is Steve Ndunde. You can interact with us. The number is 22162, or you can tweet us.
You can always tweet us on KBC Channel 1, that is on our social media platforms, and the same goes right for Facebook as well as Twitter. It's KBC Channel 1 in our SMS line.
It's 22162. The battled Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Chairman Wafula Chebukati failed to appear before the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee on Wednesday to give a brief on happenings at the electoral body following the resignation of 3 commissioners.
Chebukati instead sent an apology citing the ongoing ward elections in Nyeri and Kwale counties. A development forcing Justice and Legal Affairs Committee Chair William Cheptumo to reschedule the meeting to a later date.
The Monday's resignation of IEBC Vice Chair Koni Nikata Maina, Commissioners Dr. Paul Kurgat and Margaret Mwachanya that left the electoral body with only 3 commissioners seems to have sent an alarm to Parliament. The Justice and Legal Affairs Committee summoning IEBC Chair Wednesday to shed light on the latest development. But the Wednesday morning meeting did not materialize after Chebukati and the 2 other commissioners, Ayubu Guliye and Boya Molu, said they were committed elsewhere.
We have given the reasons why they are unable to attend today. And one of the reasons is that there are 2 by-elections in Ruguru and Ginondo. Those are MCS by-elections.
The House Committee, led by its chair William Cheptumo, had to reschedule the meeting. Cheptumo, however, said the committee has set in motion mechanisms to restructure IBC and allow the replacement of the 4 commissioners who have so far resigned.
It is not the official position of this committee that we say they should resign, but we are recognizing the fact that it is not functional because there are 3 and they may not have the necessary quorum.
But speaking separately, National Assembly Minority Leader John Mbadi maintained that the commission should be overhauled.
What our position is that we want a complete overhaul of IBC, complete reform of the IBC, restructuring of IBC, a total rethink of it. And more importantly, we have to restructure the secretariat of IBC.
Mbadi said besides sending home the entire IBC top leadership, they also should be prosecuted.
Action, they need to pay for what the crimes they are committing. Remember, Kenyans have been losing their lives out of some of these actions of these commissioners and the secretariat. They should not be left to go scot-free.
IBC boss Wafula Chebukati has since dismissed calls to resign. Meanwhile, low voter turnout characterized Kinondo and Ruguru wards by election in Kwale and Nyeri counties. However, there were no major incidents reported, with results expected by close of the day Wednesday. The 2 seats were declared vacant after the occupants died, prompting IBC to call for by-elections. Samson Kitavi, Channel 1 News.
President Uhuru Kenyatta has called for collaboration in infrastructure development as a way of supporting the recently signed Africa Continental Free Trade Area to boost inter-trade.
Speaking at the Africa Leaders Roundtable Business Forum at the Guildhall, London, President Kenyatta said the trade deal is the only way the continent can cushion itself against external economic shocks.
The ACFTA aims to increase Africa's participation in global trade and reduce dependency on aid and external borrowing.
I used to work with President Kaburuka in IFTD. Yes, I visited you in 2000.
The third day of his visit to the United Kingdom for the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, President Uhuru Kenyatta gave backing to the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Agreement signed by 44 countries in Kigali, Rwanda last month to impact positively in enhancing intra-Africa trade, which is just 15% compared to EU's 78%. The president said the Continental Free Trade Area will increase efficiency and competitiveness of Africa's industrial products through harnessing economies of scale of a large continental market of about 1 billion people using its own resources. ACFTA is designed to increase economic growth, boost employment opportunities, and reduce food deficits that affect most African nations. During discussions with the leaders, Kenyatta urged for support of the agreement in order to attract foreign direct investment inflows instead of donor aid. And 1 out of every $4 invested in Asian countries, Kenyatta highlighted that sub-Saharan Africa only received $1 out of $40 since 1990s. For the ACFTA to be successfully implemented, President Kenyatta said there is need to collaborate in addressing infrastructure gaps through sharing of knowledge, experience, expertise, and financial support. Kenya's improvement in the Ease of Doing Business Index from position 136 in 2013 to 80 in 2017 was also acknowledged at the forum. In attendance was Industry, Trade and Cooperatives Cabinet Secretary Aidan Mohamed. The president is also scheduled to participate in a summit on malaria. Ronald Willie, Channel 1 News Hour.
Hundreds of families in Bura have been displaced by floods after River Tana burst its banks.
According to the Kenya Red Cross Society, many are staring at a humanitarian crisis as heavy rains are expected to continue.
In Baringo County, the rains continue to wreak havoc, with some families forced to relocate to higher grounds.
The ongoing rains continue to cause devastation in some parts of the country. The situation in Tana River is distressing as hundreds of families have been forced out of their homes by the floods.
By the end of the day yesterday, over 2,000 people are displaced. Their homes were taken. It's gone by floods. They have lost properties. They have lost everything. Now we are in a makeshift camp.
The banks of Tana River could not withstand the vigor of rains, bursting open with a resultant inundation leading to a catastrophe. Sadly, lives have also been lost here.
Sai tuko hapa, maji bado yanaendelea na mvua juu inaendelea, mahali ya kujishikilia hakuna. Naye chakula kukula hakuna. Maana mahali tunategemea ni huko chini. Chini imezama na maji. Bila kwenda huko kutafuta kitu ya kuokoa na watoto hakuna.
Sasa mimi iko na sasa uzuku iko na shaka. Mimi mtoto hakuna kulala mahali kulala. Iko na wasiwasi.
This calamity, according to the Kenya Red Cross officials, might be hugely disastrous in coming days as rains continue to pound.
There were about 10 houses swept by the water and destroyed. We had one child around 9 months who died as a result of this.
The situation in Mandera is equally dire as the area has been marooned by floods. Roads have been rendered impassable and business premises have been out of bounds for residents who want to access them. Yet residents are even more concerned of possible outbreak of diseases such as chikungunya, which has been prevalent in the area.
Tunapata mgonjwa wa tumbo, ya kwamba tunapata maradhi ya kipindupindu, na ingine maji imekuwa mingi, haina mahali pa kupita, drainage system ya maji nayo hakuna.
Tunaomba hii mtombe ilikuwa taleta hiyo baadaye itakuwa shida. Tunaomba hiyo tunaleta hiyo baada ya afya. Tunaona hiyo kama taleta shida.
Kenya is among 3 African countries selected to participate in the trial of a new malaria vaccine.
The vaccine, which will be piloted in endemic counties within the Lake region, will target mainly vulnerable groups, including women and children.
Despite a drop in malaria prevalence rate from 11% to 8%, 70% of Kenyans are still at a risk of contracting malaria. According to the latest Kenya Malaria Indicator Survey, malaria still accounts to 18% of all outpatients visits to health facilities. But the future looks bright for the country after it was selected among those to be included in a pilot program to test a malaria vaccine.
Kenya is among the 3 countries, together with Ghana and Malawi, that have been selected for the piloting of the malaria vaccine. The activities are scheduled to start later this year.
Head of Partnership and Intergovernmental Departments, Dr. Patrick Goth, saying the country will receive 10 experts from Cuba in the next 3 months as the country strives to build up its capacity in fight against malaria.
The government is currently in talks with the Cuban government on the implementation of vector control through larviciding in Kenya.
What larviciding entails is using biolarvicides, insecticides that are sprayed on those breeding sites. And when you spray over that, you now kill the larvae and pupae before it grows into adult mosquito.
The experts, who will be working closely with medical officers in the country, will be deployed in 8 endemic Lake region areas as to implement larviciding, a vector control mechanism in combating malaria in the Lake region that will cost the country $500 million shillings. Meanwhile, Health Cabinet Secretary Cecil Kariuki has directed the management of NHIF to introduce e-procurement services. Kariuki warning that those who engage in malpractices will face the law.
I have directed the board proper, transparent guidelines be developed and be communicated to the institutions so that starting from the lead time and dealing with issues of discretion from the individual managers are dealt with. that cases of malpractice, including corruption, will not be entertained.
Speaking during the unveiling of the new NHIF chairperson, Hannah Murithi, Kariuki directed the new board to prioritize the realization of universal health coverage, which is the main agenda for the ministry. Linus Moshigadi for Channel 1 News.
Police are calling on members of the public to share any information on 3 suspected Al-Shabaab recruits believed to have sneaked to Somalia for training.
The 3 are Mohammed Abdallah Asman, also known as Papa, also known as Raymond from Majengo, Nairobi, Hamisi Hamed, also known as Balotelli, and Ali Ahmed Ali, both from Malindi.
Police say the trio is in contact with the other suspects in Kenya and could be planning to execute terror attacks locally.
Members of the public have also been cautioned against withholding information on suspected radicalization activities, and anyone found culpable will be held liable for baiting crime. Mystery surrounds the death of 3 members of a family in the city's Donholm estate.
A middle-aged woman is said to have murdered her 2 children aged 4 and 6 years before committing suicide.
The woman also left behind a note stating that she was agitated by her cheating husband to commit the crime.
The 3 bodies were discovered by a neighbor who alerted the police. The police are holding the woman's husband as investigations into the incident continues.
Waki leo tumeshuhudia mambo ya ajabu wakati mama amejinyonga mwenyewe na ameoa watoto wake 2 kwa nyumba peke yake. Tunahitaji kwa hii kijiji ya Rai tuombewe kwa sababu sijaona hii since I born.
Tumeona kisa cha kushangaza hapa kijijini kwetu, na ile kitu tunaomba ni maombi kwa hii kijiji yetu. Ile kitu ya muhimu ningeomba kwa wamama, kama uko na shida ongea na wenzako. Watu wanavumilia mambo mengi. Uongee na wenzako ndio upate ushauri kwa watu.
Director of Public Prosecutions Nurdin Haji says his office will partner with the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission in unraveling unresolved corruption cases in the country.
The partnership will seek to enhance investigative and prosecutorial capacity of the 2 bodies as efforts to slay the ghost of corruption intensify.
Despite numerous declarations, the anti-graft body has been described as a dog lacking the capacity to bite, with a host of anti-corruption cases yet to be resolved. But it might be a new dawn in the war against graft, with the newly appointed Director of Public Prosecutions, Nurdin Haji, announcing a fresh approach.
The office of the DPP is the most important partner for us, because after all the investigations, the cases go to your office.
We are going to ensure that our relationship with EACC is ensuring that we tackle this problem more effectively.
Haji, however, says it is integral for Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission to carry out thorough investigations to ensure that graft cases are watertight. Haji and Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission Chair Eliud Bukala announcing that they will carry out joint sensitization program for prosecutors as well as investigators to enhance their capacity.
We want to have a seamless process which will ensure there is more success in our work.
We will be more involved. I think our act is very clear. That we can give guidance when it comes to investigations, get prosecutors more involved in understanding what are some of the gaps that are there, and that can be addressed on the onset.
Investigations and subsequent prosecutions of numerous cases of corruption, especially those involving high-profile politicians and government officials, have in the past failed to yield fruits in what has largely been cited as lack of evidence. It remains to be seen whether the newfound cooperation between the two major players in the war against graft will bear fruits.
On Wednesday, stopped striking lecturers and academic staff in the Nairobi Central Business District. The group, which attempted to march from the University of Nairobi main campus to the Ministry of Education's Jogoo House offices, was confronted by police who barricaded the road and ordered them to disperse.
However, as Roncliffe Audit reports, the Dons have vowed to continue pushing on with the strike until the contentious 2017-2021 collective bargaining agreement is adopted.
The university's academic staff union UASU and the Kenya University Staff Union KUSU members converged at the University of Nairobi Graduation Square ready for their weekly demonstrations.
Father, this day in the name of Jesus of Nazareth, look, the universities of this country, oh God, are calling upon your name, Jehovah. We are starting from this place with you, oh God.
But first, a media briefing where they maintained the industrial action will continue until their issues are sorted.
The government and IPUCCF have not tabled a commensurate and credible counter-offer to the proposals that we, unions, gave them more than a year ago. Wait for my signal, which I predict might take 1 to 2 years. Oh, read the body language of UASU National Secretary General. This strike is not ending soon.
UASU Secretary General Constantine Wesonga and KUSU SG Charles Muhwaya also advised their members to disregard all directives from the universities.
Stop threatening Dons with the sacking. Dons are citizens of the world. Don't threaten them.
Thereafter, the group assembled to begin their protest march to the Ministry of Education headquarters, but their mission aborted.
And if we go back where I came from, we are not going to allow any demonstration around the streets of Nairobi.
This is despite the lecturers having obtained a nod from Nairobi Police Commandant to hold the demonstrations.
It is week 5 of the lecturers' strike, and here in the streets of Nairobi, an attempt for them to demonstrate and present a petition to the government has been thwarted by the police. The police says because the court declared this strike illegal and unprotected, they will not allow demonstrations here in the streets of Nairobi. And now the lecturers and other university staff have had to go back to the University of Nairobi squares where it all started.
The lecturers have vowed to continue with their strike until the government and universities council table a counter offer to their 2017-2021 collective bargaining agreement. Reporting for Channel 1 News Hour, I'm Roncliffe Audit.
The Senate started debate on a bill
that seeks to amend the County Government Act to, among others, provide a legal framework for the assumption of the office of the Deputy Governor. Already, the process to find Deputy Governors in both Nairobi and Nyeri counties is underway, despite the law being silent on how to fill the office.
The deaths of Nyeri governors Nderitu Gachagua and his successor Wahome Gakuru exposed gaps in the law. Despite the constitution issuing guidelines on how to assume the office of the governor, a lacuna still exists on how to fill that of the deputy governor. On Wednesday, the Senate began debate on the county government's amendment bill to, among other things, provide legal frameworks to help seal the gap. The bill proposes that a person who assumes the office of the governor shall nominate and, with the approval of the county assembly, appoint the deputy governor. The nominee shall be considered by the county assembly, which shall determine their suitability for the office. And perhaps in readiness for the enactment of this law, Nyeri County Governor Mutahi Kahiga has already nominated Caroline Wanjiru Karugu for deputy governor. The search is, however, still on in Nairobi County to find a replacement for Polycarp Igathe, who resigned in January. Meanwhile, the Senate, which convened a special sitting on Wednesday, eulogized the late Kenneth Matiba as a statesman and a selfless leader who bravely fought for the interests of many.
There are issues on which Matiba suffered
suffered physically and so on, fighting for the issues of democracy, the issues of rule of law, the issues of inclusivity.
As a country, we really need to do something, to remember him. And apart from even remembering him, this should be a wake-up call, Mr. Speaker, that we should always remember the heroes of this country. Many times you don't remember them.
Matiba died on Sunday after long illness.
The High Court has declined to extend orders stopping the swearing-in of 3 individuals appointed by President Uhuru Kenyatta to the Judicial Service Commission. Justice Wilfred Okwany refused to invalidate nomination, vetting and approval of Professor Olive Mugenda, Felix Koskei and Patrick Gishohi, and instead directed the applicants to appear in court on Friday this week for further directions. Ben Chumba with that report.
The nominee has taken oath. Let us proceed.
The swearing-in of 3 nominees appointed by President Uhuru Kenyatta to the Judicial Service Commission can now proceed after the High Court rejected an application by Katiba Institute to have temporary orders suspending their swearing-in extended. In an application, the lobby group expressed fears that if the conservatory orders are not extended and the swearing-in of Professor Olive Mugenda, Felix Koskei and Patrick Gishohi is allowed to proceed during the pendency of the petition, the court's decision on the main petition will be of no use to the petitioner. However, Justice Wilfred Okwany turned down their prayers and instead asked them to appear in court on Friday this week for further directions. Meanwhile, 5 terror suspects believed to have planned an attack at the Milimani law courts want to be released on bail pending the hearing and determination of their case. In their application, the suspects Abdimajid Aden, Mohamed Osman Nane, John Maina, Anthony Kitila alias Rasta, and Lydia Nyawira argue that the allegations by prosecution that they are a flight risk and could interfere with the witnesses are just but mere allegations without evidence. The prosecution, through lawyer John Ondimu, has opposed their release on bail, saying the activities of the accused persons and their associates pose a great risk to national security and should therefore remain in custody pending the hearing and determination of their case. Finally, the High Court has ordered the Presbyterian Church of East Africa in Uthiru, Kiambu County to pay former Nyeri Town Member of Parliament Wanyiri Kihoro 4.5 million shillings for illegally occupying his land for 30 years. The court also gave the church 90 days to demolish structures put up on the half-acre piece of land in Uthiru. Justice Elijah Obaga ruled that the church was illegally occupying the land, which initially belonged to Kihoro's wife, the late political activist Dr. Wanjiru Kihoro. Ben Chumba reporting for Scales of Justice.
You are watching Channel 1 News Hour. A quick break here, but before we take that break, the Senator Gertrude Busuruve will be coming up next. Rose Kaku, of course, is going to be talking to her, a very powerful woman.
Definitely, and for many she's a beacon of hope and a source of strength. And on Inching Behind the Power, you probably will get to understand why many describe her as such. But first, the break.
The Easy Banking app is your bank anywhere, anytime. Everything you do at the bank is on Easy Banking app. You can use the app to send money, pay bills, buy and pay for goods and services, access easy loans, check the status of your account, save for future goals, and so much more. And now you can enjoy an even better banking experience with the just updated Easy Banking app. Loaded with a great suite of powerful features, so you're always in control of your banking lifestyle wherever you are. Download the Easy Banking app from Google Play Store or App Store and link your Equity Bank account. If you do not have an Equity Bank account, open one hapo from the app. Easy Banking. Experience convenience in life.
Elephant populations are exploding in Kenya. So too are the conflicts with humans. Staff at Old Pejeta are forced to take drastic action against a gang of crop raiders.
We managed to find 3 of the bad animals this morning.
we'll colour one and detask, and then just detask the other two.
Easier said than done when your subject weighs over 5 tons.
You know, we're looking at this as an opportunity that we don't have to destroy those animals, but it is the last chance.
It's just another busy week in the life of a Kenyan game reserve.
This Thursday on Road to Success.
If you truly believe in something or a business idea, you know yourself best and listen to yourself, and you follow your dream. You know it better, you can execute it better.
I think that's what ultimately makes an amazing entrepreneur, is just that drive to be able to do it at all costs, and yeah, just keep pushing when it's hard, because it's hard being an entrepreneur.
Road to Success.
Welcome back. This is Engine Behind the Power on Channel 1 News Hour. And tonight we feature a lady who wears many hats. But tonight she will be sharing her story comprehensively. Like we told earlier, she is a lady who is viewed by many as a beacon of hope and a source of strength. She started her journey from the lecture hall, and now she's in the National Assembly. And we've just been having a conversation with her, and she tells me during her tenure she hopes to contribute so positively and write her name in the history books. Welcome, Doctor. Welcome very much.
Thank you very much, Lucy. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to come and be in the studio with you and share my story.
You're most welcome. And my name is Rose. Well, let's just proceed here. Well, we understand so much of what you have done, and especially in the academic sector. And you somewhat have a passion, especially for students with special needs. Could you maybe tell us more about this?
Now, Rose, if I may, I should start by saying that my interest in special needs started way back about 15 years ago, when I was teaching at St. Angela School for the Deaf. And when I taught there, I realized that there was a gap. I realized that there was a linguistic gap. I was teaching English to the deaf, and when I realized that there was need to do something, I went back to school. I did special education for my first degree. I did applied linguistics for my second degree, with a bias in sign language, so that I'm able to address the needs of the deaf. And then I also did my PhD in mass communication, but with a bias in media portrayal of people with disabilities. So I want to say that my desire started way back when I taught them, and I realized that I needed to really help them in terms of linguistics. Right. Why? Because I realized that they were being left behind. Nobody seemed to care about them. Nobody seemed to be addressing the issue, and they did not even have instructional materials. And I want to tell you, Rose, that really, drove my academic, it made me really want to get into academics with a passion in order to fill that gap. And I want to say that when I was doing my master's degree at Kenyatta University, I now decided to fill the linguistic gap, and I wrote some books on sign language, and some of the books I wrote are these.
All right.
My Sign and Fingerspelling Peoples, Book 1. Because I realized that even at lower level, there are no instructional materials in teaching the deaf, so the linguistic needs are not being met. I also did publish this. I wrote another one for upper primary.
All right.
And apart from that, since I was teaching English, I realized that even teachers themselves did not know how to handle special needs children, and so I also came up with a teacher's guide on sign language, and they were published by Jomo Kenyatta Foundation. And so this is way back, and I want to tell you that these books were the first ones ever to be published in Kenya.
With the special interest now to address those with special needs.
Yes, so, and they were even in the Orange Book. They were actually in the Orange Book, and they're supposed to be distributed to all schools in the country. But unfortunately, they're not reaching the school.
All right.
Yeah.
Just maybe if you can tell us, how do you feel that probably has the government put in place enough measures to accommodate all students in the academic sector so far?
If I can be candid, and I want to say that I want to be candid because I know that I'm the voice of children with disabilities, and if I'm not candid, then I will not be helping them. When it comes to children with disabilities, the government has not done much with regard to addressing the linguistic challenges. One, because when it comes to, for example, the deaf have a linguistic challenge. Their handicap is hidden. It's not like a handicap that like the one I have, where I have a physical handicap and everyone can see and help me. When it comes to the deaf, they have a linguistic challenge that needs to be addressed by experts, by linguists in that particular area. So I want to say that even up to now, as you're speaking, even in the new curriculum, the linguistic needs have not been addressed. And that is why when it comes to academics, they dot our universities, because what they get from the elementary stage cannot help them now manage the academic and even pursue college and university.
All right.
And what I want to say, Rose, is that the government also needs to realize is that when we're talking of children with disabilities, they're on a continuum where we have those with extreme disability and we have those with mild disability. We have those who are educable. The ones with mild are educable, but the ones with extreme disability are not educable, but they can be taught vocational skills, like for instance toileting, just basic skills that can help them cope up. But those who are educable, their needs have not been met, especially when it comes to the deaf, simply because they don't have instructional materials. And I want to tell you, Rose, if I can give an example, when it comes to the blind, visual impairment, students with visual impairment, the needs have been addressed because we have books in the Braille up to the higher level, so they don't lose out on anything. But when it comes to the deaf, they lose out on so much. So what I want to say is that there's need for the government, there's need for the KICD to really come out candidly and address this issue, which has not been addressed. And I want to say, Rose, having been in the area of disability, even as a senator, and being a scholar, even during my time in Parliament, I will not digress. I will still continue writing for disability. And I know that even as a right on disability, people will get to know that the passion I have is very genuine on the deaf, and that I desire the best for them.
Of course, and of course we'll be getting to maybe more projections that you have as a person and even as, a member of the Senate. But at the same time, we understand you're very passionate about even people living with disabilities. You have certain organizations that you've come up with. I mean, what really drives you to do these kind of things and giving back to society?
Thank you very much for that question, Rose. It is like you just pricked what I really need to tell the whole world. That in 2013, I was diagnosed of cancer. And the cancer I had was, bone cancer. And it affected me. My femur bone had to be removed. Part of my pelvis had to be removed, and that is why I acquired the disability. And I remember when I was diagnosed of cancer, in fact, the doctors were giving me up to maybe 6 months to survive. Nobody ever knew that I was going to pull out. So I went to India for treatment, and when I was on my deathbed, I told God one thing, that God, don't take me to yourself, because I feel as a person I have not done much. I feel that there's so much I need to do. So I just told God, give me a chance to live so that I can tell the whole world what you're able to do. And I actually promise that I'll be very candid. I will not shy off that I'm a cancer survivor. And that is why I even founded our foundation, LibCard Foundation, with a need to raising awareness about cancer, for people to know that when you are a cancer survivor, that when you have cancer, it is not a death penalty. You can still move on. And I want to tell you, Rose, by the time I had cancer and I was in India for almost a year, I was even doing my PhD. I got cancer in the middle of my PhD, but I said no, cancer will not.
So were you still pursuing a PhD?
Oh, yes.
From the hospital in India?
In fact, I told God that I do not want to be in the register of the dead in India, in Karen, or in any other hospital. I told God, no, this is not the time for me to be in that register. And so I just, in my mind, I told myself I have to continue pursuing with my studies. So those around me were really fearing for me. They saw that I was going to die, but in my mind, I was not dead. I told myself I have to move on, I have to press on. I show the whole world that if you have cancer, it's not a death penalty. You can still be productive in this world. You can do so much for this nation. You can do so much for this country. And that is how I really founded this, the LibCard Foundation, and I did a documentary.
What is the documentary about, really? Maybe if you can just share with Kenyans.
Now, the documentary is about my life before cancer. When when I got the news that I had cancer, I shared how I reacted, and then even when I was in hospital and I was going through the treatment, the chemotherapy, the surgery, I also shared with people. And then even the documentary shows after the surgery, how I moved on with life and got acceptance with the society and continued with my life. Because you see, when I had cancer, that is when I acquired the disability. But you see, when you have a disability again, you have to be very careful how you behave. Because if you accept yourself and look at it positively and move on with life, then people around you will also be positive about you. They'll be happy about you and they'll share freely with you. So, but you see, when you sympathize with yourself, they will sympathize with you. So they look at you from a pity paradigm. So what I want to say is that even in this documentary, I've really shown how you can get societal acceptance. You have to voice out your issues, you have to be with the others, and you have to deliberately decide not to be a lone ranger but move on with the others. So really in this documentary, I've come up with an inspiring way in which people with cancer, people living with disabilities, can actually move on with life and comfortably and be productive. When it comes to cancer, I want to say that cancer should not make people become a burden in this country. Cancer is supposed to, you know, when you are a cancer survivor, in fact, the government, the people around you are supposed to help you be productive so that for the years that God gives you, you can still be productive rather than be a burden. Like, for example, in my case, I was diagnosed of cancer in 2013, but I chose to be positive. I chose to deliberately inspire others so that people can be motivated with my works and want to live, you know, a productive life. And I want to tell you, by the way, this documentary, I've been able to distribute to about 1 million people.
Wow, 1 million people. So have you just
almost 1 million?
Your interactions, have they just been within the country or beyond, or how
just within the country? And many people, especially those with cancer, who have seen the documentary, who have gone through my documentary, want to see it on and again because they're inspired that, oh, we can still live even despite the fact that we have cancer. Because one thing I need to tell people is that cancer, there are many causes of cancer, by the way. Cancer can be a lifestyle you know, disease, and it can even be generic. You can have inherited from your parents. In such a situation, there's nothing you can do. My own father died of cancer, the cancer he had was this one that gets men
prostrate,
prostate cancer. But after we buried him, but after some years I got bone cancer. I'm not a meat person. I do not smoke and all that. So I just wanted people to know that cancer is mysterious. anyone can get it. But when you get it and go through treatment, you have to move on with your life and be productive, in this country. And I also want to say that even when you're talking about issues of cancer in this country, it is important for people to realize that equipment alone is not enough. We need to have equipment, yes, but we also need to have oncologists, doctors being sponsored to do oncology so that they can specialize in this area and give treatment to people with cancer in this country, because cancer is very expensive and most people with cancer go out of the country. Now,
so do you find it as extra expenses?
Not, it is extremely expensive. Like for example, in my case, I was just lucky that by the time I had cancer, I was a lecturer at Jomo Kenyatta University. So Jomo Kenyatta University was able to sponsor me. My friends also contributed for me. My relatives contributed for me, and I also had to sell my property in order to go for treatment. Were it not for that, then I would have been I would have been 7 feet under. So I want to say now, for the common mwananchi, how many people are able to do that? Not many are able to go out of the country for treatment. So it is just prudent that oncologists are trained in this country so that they come back with a lot of expertise and also treat people with cancer. It will be economical and it will be cheap, and we are going to save quite a number of lives in this country.
All right, and now as a senator, and of course you've already shared with us your ambitions, of course, contributing into the education sector, into the health sector. Probably even as we wind up this interview, what maybe other projections do you have? What do Kenyans expect to see from you?
Now, the projections I have. One, I just want to thank God for the nomination I got in the Senate, because it is a noble opportunity for me to voice out issues of disability.
Did you expect the position?
I did not expect.
So what was your reaction, maybe?
My reaction is that I felt that God wants me to be there and serve the people of this country. So my expectation is that I'll be very selfless when it comes to serving people in this country. I'll air issues of disabilities candidly on the floor of the House, because the floor itself gives me a platform to really talk about pertinent issues of disability in this country. So my projection is that within the time I'm in Parliament, I will engage in meaningful debates, I will engage in meaningful statements, I will engage in meaningful motions that will make also policymakers realize the needs of persons with disability. And apart from that, Rose, I want to say that even for my time in Parliament, I feel that it is also a good opportunity for me to really come up and raise issues of my people back in Lugari, especially the rural women in Lugari, especially the helplessness of the people of Lugari. I feel that it is an opportunity for me to really express what they really need from the government, what they really need from the leadership, so that they're not left behind, so that they're not left behind. Another thing I want to say, Rose, is that my expectation is that my time in Parliament, I want to ensure that whatever I do in the floor of the House, whatever I do outside the House, is within the scope of the SDGs. Because when we talk of sustainable development goals, it means that nobody will be left behind. People with disabilities will not be left behind. My people also in Lugari will also not be left behind. The rural women also in Lugari will not be left behind. The rural women also in Kenya will not be left behind, because when you articulate issues that affect women, in one county and also nationally, then other leaders also get your views, and when they get your views, they will, it will be an eye-opener, and they'll want to implement that in their counties.
All right, and probably in so many interviews you have said that all this is like a second chance in life. And in only one sentence, in the interest of time, what is your inspiration, sentence or mantra to the people as we wind up?
Now,
one sentence.
If God gives you an opportunity to serve, can you do it with a lot of passion and for the glory of the Lord?
All right. All right then, and those are the words right there from Senator and she's Dr. Gertrude Enima, and thank you so much for joining us. And of course, she has shared so much with us and what she has contributed and what she hopefully, or rather hopes to do even in her tenure in the National Assembly. Now we pave way for Regina Manyara to give us the latest from the world of business.
Nilikuwa nina watch show, alafu kuna ile number special 10 zilipeanwa pale. Alafu baadaye nikatangazwa kuwa mimi ndio mshindi. Naso laba mtaani niko na kioski yangu pale. Yenye nimeshinda nda boost ile kioski yangu iko kubwa kidogo, na wasi mcheze. Miaka dola ni ya ukweli.
Nawe pia cheza ushinde leo. Top up kwa paybill number 295888 uanzie sasa.
Some they pay no mind, but now the note is blue. So take your ones, your 50s, put your hundreds to your shoes. And to my fans, you know I love you. Let's go to the world. You I'm so afraid.
Good evening. Quite an inspirational interview right there with Rose Gekuo and our engine behind the power guest. Now, I'm Regina Manyara Guitar, and now we speak matters business. Now, the government has spent over 700 million shillings on the index-based livestock insurance program that was rolled out in the 8 arid and semi-arid counties 4 years ago. Agriculture CS Mwangi Kinjori says the insurance program will be rolled out in all the 14 arid and semi-arid counties and then within the next 2 years in support of livestock development agenda under the Big Four plan. This program protects against shared rather than individual risks, such as risks associated with weather fluctuations, disease outbreaks or price loss. The government first piloted the program in Wajir and Turkana counties, and after a successful start, it was extended to 6 more counties. 705 million shillings has already been spent on the program.
We have paid 705 million for the 8 counties we have rolled so far. And the premium, the government has been giving 100% premium. And we have paid premiums of about 460 million. So you see there is value for money. According to Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Mwangi Kinjori, the progress of the program is being monitored and now has over 100,000 beneficiaries. He says livestock insurance has stabilized the pastoral livelihood system, reduced dependency on relief aid and post-disaster responses while restoring dignity of the mainstream pastoralists.
My ministry is implementing other programs that are aimed at improving the resilience and livelihoods of pastoral communities in the ASO counties. With the support of the World Bank, the national government has invested 9.8 billion through a 5-year regional pastoral livelihoods resilience project to improve the livelihoods of communities living in the 14 ASO counties.
County governments, donors, as well as other stakeholders have been requested to complement the national government's efforts in cushioning Kenyans from extreme shocks resulting from drought.
We are calling for our partners, the donor partners and other interested bodies who can be able to come up and enhance this program. So in short, it's an incentive we are giving to our farmers.
The Director of Livestock Production, Julius Kiptarus, says the ministry is also working on a program to develop pasture and improve water supply to mitigate on the vagaries of dry spells.
Not only we are rolling livestock insurance, in addition to that, the ministry is also having programs to develop pasture, to develop water, so that hay shade, so that when there is rains like now, they can be able to harvest, store in the shade, and during the dry spell, they are able to use the strategic feed reserves in those sheds.
They are hopeful that in 2 years' time, they shall be able to cover all the 14 ASAL counties. For Business News from Mombasa County, I am Ann Mburu.
Now into the financial sector, the State Bank of Mauritius has completed a takeover of a 75% stake in Chase Bank Kenya Limited. SB now acquires the assets and liabilities of the bank that was placed under receivership in 2016 by the Central Bank of Kenya due to financial hiccups. The Kenya Deposit Insurance Corporation will retain the remaining 25%. O'Brien Kimani with more details.
The State Bank of Mauritius was selected in December last year to buy the assets of Chase Bank Kenya, which is under statutory management since the year 2016. A statement from the Central Bank of Kenya says SBM has concluded a buyout agreement with the Kenya Deposit Insurance Corporation for the acquisition of some assets and liabilities of the Kenyan bank. The agreement states that there will be a transfer of 75% of the value of deposits currently under suspension at Chase Bank and the transfer of the majority of staff and branches of the existing operations. However, 25% of the value of frozen deposits will remain in Chase Bank. For the 75% of moratorium deposits to be transferred to SBM, 25% of each transferred deposit is to be held in a current account with SBM Kenya with unrestricted usage and without interest being payable thereon, the CBK statement says. The statement further says depositors will have 25% of their deposit held in a savings account with SBM Kenya at an interest rate of 6.65% per annum, while the remainder of each transferred deposit will be held on a fixed term deposit with SBM Kenya at an interest rate of 6.65% per annum. The Mauritius-based bank acquired another Kenyan lender, Fidelity Bank, last year, making its foray into the East African market. It is the third biggest lender in the Indian Ocean island.
After some good news for maize farmers and millers is that the millers in the counties are optimistic that there will be enough maize to last till next season to help keep the maize flour prices steady. They have, however, raised concern over the inadequate interventions towards eradicating the fall armyworm that has been a menace in the maize growing regions.
Last year, the government was forced to spend billions of shillings in maize importation under the maize subsidy program due to the failed rains that led to maize shortage. Though the rains have started pounding most parts of the country, millers say the fall armyworm threat could still affect maize production. Cocoa Industry CEO Rajan Shah wants the government and relevant stakeholders to come up with better ways to contain the pest.
And yes, armyworms is a concern. The relevant ministries are addressing the problem. Get onto the ground and assist these same farmers to kind of improve and arrest the situation so that we do not have shortfalls in our supply of maize.
Millers are, however, confident of increased production this season, which they say will help keep maize and maize flour prices at reasonable levels.
Already in April, we are still seeing that with the good rains, we might not be in as precarious a situation as what we were. And with the maize flows which we already are seeing coming from our neighboring countries, with including whatever our farmers in Kenya are yet to kind of sell, we, I think, are not going to be in a serious situation.
He urged millers to enrich their products.
Flour more nutrient, and the fortification now is actually become a mandatory program in the country, and that's one way of adding back some of the nutrients which could have been kind of removed through the milling process.
The company has launched a new range of maize flour for the Kenyan market.
Well, it's a wrap of Matters Business. Edward Kabasi is on the other side of the studio getting ready to brief on what has been happening in the sporting arena. I'm Regina Manyagita. Do have a pleasant evening ahead.
yourself.
I've been planning.
Hii inatumia Paul. Glenn.
Kisaka, please. Some cup of tea.
Ah, thank you very much. I'm a bit late. You can have it on my behalf.
Mbona leo niletee chai?
Nakasema